this is a trend that I would say that I will be avoiding. Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kira and I'm your resident style solutionist, and I share videos on shopping for the best basics on the high street, how to build a capsule wardrobe, and lots of trend videos. So if that sounds good to you, then do hit subscribe because I would love to have you back for more videos. So in today's video, we are looking at the top 10 best and worst fashion trends for autumn. So we're going to be breaking down 10 of the biggest trends for autumn, and I'm also going to be sharing with you what I think are going to be the easiest and the not so easy trends to style into your wardrobe for autumn. Fashion is supposed to be fun at the end of the day, so if any of these trends tickle your fancy, then please do enjoy them and go out and wear them. But I'm just giving you a little bit of advice as to some of the trends that I think might be a little bit trickier to work into your wardrobe, and some that I think will be really, really easy to incorporate. As always, everything I mentioned will be linked right down in the description below, so all of the info that you need will be there. So let's kick off this roundup with one of my best trends for autumn, and it is belts. If you've watched my recent trend reports, you'll probably know that belt layering, chunky belts, statement belts, they are huge news for autumn, and it is such a fun trend and such an easy one to work into your style, and I think it makes such an impact as well, so that's why I'm putting this at my #1 spot. And what I love about this trend is that all of us have some type of belts in our wardrobe, and to incorporate this trend, you can easily just layer up the belts that you already have. You can take your own belts, you can steal belts from your boyfriend or husband or family members and layer them up together. You could also pick up a statement belt if you don't have one already, and these can easily be found both on the high street. There are so many amazing chunky belts, statement belts, but it's easy to also find these either from thrift shops or charity shops or from the pre-loved market. They're all over, like Vinted, eBay, all that kind of stuff. So it's a really easy trend to find and a really easy one to have fun with. It's a very kind of low cost of entry to play with this and to add some more texture and interest and fun to your outfits. I find for me that belts are my favorite way to not only add dimension and, you know, a bit of shape to my outfit. For example, if I'm doing a maxi skirt or if I have a maxi coat on or even a blazer, like an oversized one, and I want to cinch in the waist. I've spoken as well about that kind of powerful silhouette and 80s tailoring that is so big for autumn. So think of things like powerful shoulders offset with a nice cinched in waist on your garment. Belts are a great way of doing that. So you can take your oversized blazer and make it more kind of trend appropriate by just belting it. So I cannot say enough about belts. They are probably my favorite accessory apart from handbags and maybe apart from shoes, but they're my favorite kind of smaller accessory. I think they just do so much to add to your outfit. So definitely it is a trend that I think all of you should adopt and have fun with this autumn. So next up, let's move on to one of my worst trends, and we can kind of jump back and forth. So the first trend that I'm going to put in the worst category is peep toe boots. And again, if you love peep toe boots, then absolutely wear them, and I definitely think that they can look really cool, but it is definitely more of a trendier item that we have only really seen in the last few months. It was kind of drip feeding in throughout summer, but really this is the first autumn season that we're seeing this. And for me, I just find that when it comes to autumn winter, I tend to like a closed toe shoe. I'm still, you know, taking care of my pedicure, but I just don't know, do I want my toes out in autumn winter? If I'm someone who does enjoy trying things out and I don't want to try this, then I feel like you guys are probably going to struggle as well. I also think that it is definitely something that you need to buy something new for. You can't exactly just cut the toe out of your boots. You got to go and pick a pair up that has a peep toe. I tend to like to invest a little bit more in my boots or just really shop around for the best quality and the best value. So I think it's harder to find a really great pair of peep toe boots without spending more money. So that's why I just think this is a trend that I don't see myself incorporating. Now, who knows? You might see me in a few weeks rocking some peep toe boots, and that's, you know, that could happen, but as it stands, I'm putting this in my worst category because I just think it's going to be a little bit harder to style. So next up, let's go back to one of my best trends, and we're going to talk about the school shoe. Now, this is very much a loafer, and it is anything from a boat shoe, a deck shoe, or very much a school type shoe. Think of a preppy loafer, nothing too chunky or oversized. It can have a little bit of detail, especially when it comes to deck shoes and boat shoes. Sometimes they're a little bit looser. They they can have that kind of leather strap lace detail, or you have your kind of school style shoes. They can be penny loafers, kind of Oxford style loafers. That is very much all encompassed in this trend of the preppy school loafer. And this is nothing new. We have seen loafers be a popular trend for years and years and years now, and they kind of change in their styles and shapes over the years. What we've definitely seen recently is a move away from super chunky loafers to a more slimline fitted loafer. And I personally love this because I find it so easy to style. So for me, my loafers that I have in my wardrobe, my favorites are probably my Bonbon loafers from Flattered. I have those in two colors, the black leather and the brown chocolate suede, which were a new addition, and oh, they're so beautiful. And I just know this is an easy one for me to style. And I just know that I can pair this with my skirts, with my jeans, with my trousers, which again is why I'm putting it in the best category. I really think it's so fun to play with trends, but we really want to make sure we're getting our maximum value out of our purchases, and we don't really want to be buying things just because we're seeing them online and then not getting the cost per wear and essentially wasting our money. So that's why loafers are an excellent trend in my opinion, because they're just such a staple. Okay, so moving on, let's go back over to the worst category, and the trend we're going to talk about is fringe and fringe detail. Don't get me wrong, I think fringe can look so cool. I've seen some people really rocking it on my social media feeds. I've seen some amazing vintage fringe jackets, which personally are my favorite version of this trend. I think if you're doing fringe jackets, I think doing something that has that kind of worn in look tends to look cooler than a brand new fringe jacket. I really think that it's something to do with the leather and the suede. I think if you're doing fringe, it needs to look a little bit aged, but you can definitely get styles on the high street that kind of have this worn look. If you really feel like the Western or the kind of 70s Bohemian style speaks to you and you love this, then absolutely wear it. People really pull it off and it's so cool. So yes, I do think that fringe is a little bit harder to style. Now I will say you can definitely incorporate fringe in smaller ways and it can work and be easier to style into your wardrobe. Let's say with smaller fringe details, perhaps on a handbag or even on a pair of loafers. I've seen some really cool fringe trimmed loafers, especially in that kind of moccasin style. They're kind of like a type of driving loafer or driving shoe, and I do think that can look really cool. But I think big statement fringe trims on jackets, on leather jackets, on suede jackets can look a little bit too costumey and a bit too festively unless you style it properly. That's why I would put them in my category of trends that I will be avoiding. Okay, let's move back to my best trends list, and the next one I'm going to talk about is lace. Now you've probably heard me talk about lace in lots of my previous trend videos. It's one of my favorite things to incorporate, and again, lace is nothing new. It comes around. Lace was definitely one of spring summer's biggest trends, but we are seeing it styled into autumn winter as well, and I love this because once again, it is easy to work into your wardrobe. It's easy to style. It's very easy to work with your autumn pieces. For example, lace trim camis and lace trim shorts, lace trim skirts, anything with that beautiful delicate eyelash lace trim is a really easy way to take a very summery light piece and bring it into autumn. Very easy way of doing this is by pairing your lace trim pieces with leathers, with knits, with suedes, with chunkier, more autumnal fabrics. And I think it's such an easy trend to incorporate, which is why it has to be on my best list. It's something I've been doing already. I've been really enjoying styling my lace trim shorts with chunkier knits. I've been wearing my lace camisoles with denim, with heavier pieces, and it's just so fun to do. So if you haven't tried it yet, I would highly recommend. Okay, so moving on, we have another footwear trend that I have put in my worst category, and it is the Buccaneer boot. Now, the Buccaneer style boot is very much a slouchy, oversized, loose fitting boot. It can be lower down in the ankle, or it can be onto the knee, or it can be even above the knee, but it is characterized by a loose, slouchy style. That's why it's kind of coined the Buccaneer boot. It almost looks like a pirate boot. This can definitely look very cool. It's kind of 80s in styling, and I've seen people wear these in outfits and it does look very cool. But as I said, this is in my worst category because it is a little bit harder to style and it's definitely a more expensive trend to incorporate because Buccaneer style boots are chunkier in their nature. And as I said before, I am a bit pickier with my boots. I don't necessarily need to spend a lot on them, but I am pickier about the ones that I'll go for. So for example, I find places like H&M do really good quality less expensive boots. So let's say for under €100, I find you can get great ones there. My favorite are usually places like Flattered. They do amazing quality boots, a little bit more expensive, but the cost per wear and the value and the quality is definitely there. So for a Buccaneer style boot, especially if you wanted to try, let's say, the over the knee Buccaneer style, which is really kind of the trend that we were seeing on the runways, even if you're getting it on the high street, they are more expensive because there's a lot of material there. In the sense that there's a lot of material, it can be an overpowering piece to style. If I was styling it, I would probably wear it with something very simple, maybe even a slip dress or a slip skirt, maybe a chunkier knit, or maybe even pairing it with a really simple oversized white shirt and a very simple skirt, and let the boots do the talking. I do think there are ways of styling this that absolutely work, but I think it's harder to style and you really have to think about it more. And for that reason, I would say that it's not the first trend that I'll be embracing this autumn. It's not to say that I won't try it out, but it is on my list of ones that I'm not going to jump on straight away. Okay, so moving on, let's go back to my best category, and I'm going to talk about another one of my favorite trends to incorporate this autumn, which is the 80s power dressing. And again, this is a trend that comes around every other season, and it is basically strong silhouettes, a strong shoulder, a nipped in waist. It's really a great trend to incorporate for anyone because it is incredibly flattering. It's great for our workwear wardrobes, and it is also a very easy trend to incorporate. You don't even really need to go out and buy anything new to incorporate this trend. If you, for example, take, let's say, an oversized blazer, which I know so many of us have in our wardrobes because the oversized blazer trend really dominated for so many years, or even a slouchy blazer, you can, for example, use your belts, which of course was my #1 trend that I've already mentioned, nip in the waist with a belt. Or, you know, you could even take your blazer to the tailors and you could get it nipped in professionally, but you can easily just style this with a belt. And then you're getting that gorgeous 80s cinched silhouette. Another favorite trick of mine is to pick up a pair of shoulder pads. These are so inexpensive. You can get them from the likes of Amazon for under €10. You can get a really great structured pair, and you can easily just pop these in to your favorite blazer or even your favorite blouses and shirts to get that gorgeous, strong shouldered silhouette. It's really a way of almost like restyling and re-wearing the pieces that you already have to maximize this trend. So you don't have to go out and buy a super structured blazer. You can just tweak what you already have. But again, if you do want to buy a blazer in this style, there are lots of great versions on the high street. I've seen amazing ones on the likes of COS, Ket, ASOS do some really great affordable ones. River Island have some great options that again are very affordable. It's not hard to find on the high street, and then when you have a piece, or you can rework what you have, you can style it with anything. This type of 80s tailoring looks great dressed down with jeans. You can go full head to toe and do a power suit. You can do a matching suit. You can mix and match. You can wear it with skirts, fitted skirts, knee-length skirts. It looks great with everything. And as I said, it's not only great for everyday wear, but it's amazing for your workwear wardrobe as well, which is why it is in my top trends category. I highly recommend that you try it out. Okay, so moving back over to my worst trends category, we are going to talk about Slogan t-shirts. And look, this is something that I think is very fun in nature, and it's probably more of a casual trend. So this is something that a lot of us might wear in our casual outfits and, you know, our day-to-day pieces, and that's absolutely perfect. And if you have, you know, Slogan tees that you love, please continue to wear them. But what I'm saying is, when you are looking at where to invest for autumn, I don't think you should be investing your money in this trend because it's already so easy to find either in our wardrobe, thrifted, secondhand, vintage. You know, you can find some amazing vintage Slogan t-shirts. For me, I love a vintage band t-shirt, which isn't necessarily a slogan, but that's kind of how I tend to do details on my t-shirts. I don't really do slogans as much. I'll do like my favorite bands and their t-shirts that I've had since I've been, you know, 15, 16 years old or even younger. I've just always had band t-shirts. So I think Slogan tees can be fun to wear, but will I be going out and investing in new Slogan t-shirts just because they're currently trending? I will not. Now, of course, we look at the likes of maybe the J'adore Dior t-shirt, which is always kind of on my wish list. I think it's so cool. But other than that, it's really a trend that I will probably be letting pass me by. I already have all of my favorite kind of band t-shirts in my wardrobe already, and I don't feel the need to add any more. So this is a trend that I would say that I will be avoiding. So let's move back back to my best category, and the final one that I want to mention is Bohemian styling. And again, I have mentioned this in lots of my previous trend videos. It was a huge trend circulating for the summertime, and it is set to still be huge for autumn winter. Bohemian styling really encompasses a lot of things, but the key detail I think is ruffles, floaty layers of fabric, and kind of how you style your pieces together. And this is why I'm including it in the best category, because you can really go into your wardrobe and I guarantee you already have pieces that work for this trend, and it's just about how to style them. So for example, you can take a maxi skirt or a midi skirt, of which most of us have in our wardrobes, and you can pair it with a ruffle shirt if you have something like that. If you don't, you can take a plain shirt, and you can then include belts and do some kind of clever belt styling. And by layering these together, you start to get that bohemian style. If you're looking for inspiration on how to style things in this way, look at the likes of Chloe, Isabel Marant. On their runways, they really incorporate this. It's kind of maximalist styling, but it's still very feminine and floaty. So it's maximalist, but still very soft. It involves volume and layers, but it's still light and airy, and using fabrics like lace, chiffon, sheer layers, and as I said, things like ruffles, details like that are a great way of doing this. So you don't necessarily need to go out and buy anything new. You can just restyle what you already have. And this is why this trend is in my best category, because it means we can just have fun with what is already in our wardrobe. As you know already, this is my favorite thing to do with trends, is to just restyle what I already have. So then we're going back to my worst trends category, and the one that I think is probably my least favorite trend of autumn. It's more of an aesthetic, but we've seen a lot of people talk about it, and Vogue has coined this trend frazzled but fabulous. It's also kind of called the art of looking undone, and it is kind of messy chic. So what that kind of means is kind of mismatching things, and it's kind of this disheveled look that we've been seeing on a lot of the runways for autumn winter. And although I think this is a very interesting styling trend, it's certainly very fun to see on the runways. We saw things from models' hair being undone, mismatched textures, kind of shapeless pieces that when styled together kind of gave this dowdy look. So things like granny style cardigans paired with loafers, paired with maxi skirts, which when worn all together give that kind of granny-ish styling. And yes, I think it's very fun to see on the runways. It can look very editorial, but it's very hard to work into our everyday wardrobes without actually looking dowdy and a bit frazzled. If you are a fashion gal and you love really doing kind of interesting and quirky trends, then by all means, this style might be super fun for you to play with. But if you are a mere mortal like myself and you are trying to look chic and polished most of the time, this is going to be tricky to achieve. I feel like it oftentimes can look a bit more frazzled than fabulous. So I'm not saying that you cannot try out this trend or even have elements of this to your styling and how you put outfits together, but I am just saying proceed with caution. So there you have it, guys. That is 10 of my best and worst fashion trends for autumn. As always, I would love to know in the comments what you think of my selections. Are there any of these trends that you love or hate? Do you agree with my choices? Please do let me know in the comments below. If you would like to see more of these best and worst roundups, then please do give this video a thumbs up to let me know. And if you have not already, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every single week, and I would love to have you back for more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye.